came down here in the stadium this morning being in shorts, then we went at 8:30. It's convenient, and the heat hadn't quite picked up, and so we just came down here, and then with a 2-a-day, they'll have the afternoon off, and get an opportunity to take about a 4-hour window to take a good nap, and then we'll be back down here again tonight in our full pad session this evening. Then we go back to 1-a-day tomorrow. We'll go back up on the field. Anytime I'm going to somewhere between 1 and 4 o'clock, I won't come down here on the turf with all the heat because it just gets that much hotter, and it's harder on the players.
Talk about the second day after your full pad session. Talk about their attitudes and their effort.
Well, I thought we talked a little bit after practice 3. I thought it drug a little bit, and even 4, the 2 in shells. But I thought it was much better. I think it's picked up. I'm starting to hear a little bit more of the chirping. I talked about in my press conference, one of the most important things that we were trying to do out of camp was develop leadership. We're trying to find the leaders on this football team. It's one of the most important things we're doing out of camp. And it's coming. I'm starting to see it a little bit more. We've talked about so many of the new faces, and it's not just the talent, but it's the team chemistry and the leadership. And that's where we've got to continue to grow on that. We've got to point it out. We've got to teach them. We've got to help them understand what the expectations are for them to lead this team. And it's getting better every day. I thought it got better this morning. Guys got a little, you can hear them starting to communicate with each other and talk to each other and not trying to just operate in silence.
What were the goals this morning whenever y'all came in here today?
Well, there's some things we wanted to get polished up. You put on pads. We've had pads on 3 days now with the 2 shells and the full pads, and so we wanted to get some things polished up. This morning was not a hard morning. We only went against each other for about 20 minutes of skill and then a 2-minute at the very end. So it wasn't a big competition one as much as it was a fundamental work and trying to get some of the assignment things corrected off film, and then we'll come back tonight and get a good practice out of it this evening.
Assess the progress, Scotty Young, or where do you think he's evaluated how far he's come since spring practice?
You know, he's doing a good job of maintaining where he kind of picking up where he left off. He certainly hasn't digressed, which is the thing you worry about. I think Scotty's doing a really nice job of managing the team. He's making some good throws. I mean, we still have to get better. We've missed some open, deep looks that we got to get better at, but overall I think he's doing a good job of managing the team. And then Ryan Higgins, who's got some explosiveness about him because he can do some things with his feet and he can move around, has improved tremendously. He still has to eliminate a couple of the plays that are going to get us beat, but I think Ryan Higgins has come a long way as well. I think we have a chance to have 2 really quality quarterbacks if they'll both continue to improve by the time we get to NC State.
Could you explain what goes into your evaluation of the offensive line since you guys only have 1 starter back from last season?
Well, a lot of competition right now, and what's going to go into it is every day we're working together. We've moved Mitchell Bell over to the right side. We've moved Darryl Brown over to the left side. We've tried to move a lot of guys around to make sure that we've got all the right pieces together. We want to do this as early as possible so we can really settle into what we're going to put together to get ready for the first game and try and develop some continuity and some consistency with it. So right now it's just who's going to pick up their assignments at the positions they're in and who's going to be the most efficient at that, who's the most fundamentally sound, who's the most ready to play. And we don't have to play today, so we don't have to make that decision today, but I would say by the 17th, that scrimmage on the 17th, we've got to really start to put it together then, because then we've got 2 weeks before the first game.
Yep.
Coach, how are you encouraged by the team coming out here and having a little pep in their step after a short turnaround from yesterday, and then how crucial is tonight's second practice?
Well, it is, because we've been going in the middle of the day, and it's hot. I know it's hot, and there's 110, 109 degree heat indexes, and these guys are out here pushing through it, and that has a tendency to zap your energy. You know, you can't tell it when you watch film because they're working hard, but what you're starting to see now, what you were concerned about with a short turnaround, practicing yesterday afternoon late, and then coming out here this morning, it'd be flat, it'd be dead, they'd be tired, fatigued. But I thought they came out here and they had a lot of energy, they were focused, they were dialed in, spent a lot of work in the kicking game this morning, got a lot of that stuff done. They were very attentive. Okay, what do I do, Coach? Now 4 comes down and twist. I mean, asking questions that I'm encouraged with what I see. They want to be good. They want to be good, and it's showing in how hard they're working right now. So I think it's been a very positive move, as we talked about that leadership development, that as it's getting harder, they're getting more and more vocal with practice, because I think you got to have emotion and passion at practice. You can put on film and you can watch and say everybody's doing their job, but I don't think anything great was ever accomplished without passion. And this is a passionate game, and that's what we're trying to continue to instill in our team.
In the spring, y'all didn't do a whole lot of special teams, and in
No.
this fall, you've done a whole lot.
Yes.
Just talk about how you feel like your special teams are coming around and your 2 freshman kickers.
Well, that's an evaluation. We didn't want to put in a lot of punt and punt return, kickoff return with all the new faces that were coming in the summer and fall camp. When you look at the number of junior college players and freshmen that are going to have to play that weren't here in the spring, it didn't make a lot of sense to put a special team unit together that wasn't going to be playing in the fall, especially from a kicker standpoint when you look at a punter and a kicker. So we held off and we spent a lot more time on the offense and defense. We spent 30 minutes this morning on kickoff return, just really putting a lot more emphasis into it because you got a much better idea with the linebackers that are here now who's going to be running down on kickoffs and making sure what you're teaching it to the guys that are going to be playing for you this fall. So I think we've done a lot of work. Ronnie Bradford's done a nice job. We've got all 4 phases are in this point, and punt return, kickoff return, and I think the young players were still continuing to evaluate. We chart them every day. They compete every day. I think Logan has got a very strong leg as a punter. We've just got to work on his get off time and his consistency, but I think he has a chance to be an excellent punter for us even this year. And then at kicker, I think there's a great battle going on right now with Jonathan Barnes and Kyle Fisher. We're going to let those 2 continue to compete. They chart kicks every day. They do team kicks every day, and we'll just let them continue to compete. But if those 2 win the job, it will not bother me going into the first game to have 2 freshmen because I think they're both very talented. They're both very, very capable. I think they've got a mental makeup that it's going to take to play kicker in the Division I level.
You mentioned leadership before, so how much leadership and how much skill are you going to have to rely on with your defensive line since that's the most experienced part of the defense?
Well, it's always easier to lead when you've played a lot. When you look at all the guys that are up front, that's definitely going to be somebody that we're going to have to lean on. I don't think it's fair to ask Daniel Cobb and Nick Thomason and Mitch Villamez and a lot of guys, Tony Johnson, guys that just got here to be your vocal leaders. I think it has to come from the guys that went through spring and have been here. But right now, I think the seniors and the upperclassmen we're going to rely on a lot. We've got a lot of them up front on the offensive line. We've got a lot of them on the defensive line. We've just got to continue to develop it. And whether that comes from a senior, a sophomore like Kenneth Dixon is a very vocal individual. I don't want to take away from him being a vocal, passionate part of this offense because he is. So we're looking not only with the seniors, but some of the underclassmen that have some experience as well.
What has Cam Dameron brought to your defense?
I think he's brought a mindset, a toughness, and a different scheme. I think our players have an awful lot of confidence in Kim Dameron and what he's put together. I think they believe in it. They've bought into it, and I think that's 90% of the battle. If you buy into what you're doing and you believe that your coach is going to give you the best chance to win and put you in the best position to win, then they start getting out there, and it's not questioning calls, it's executing the calls that are made. And I think Kim brings passion, energy. He's on that sideline. I mean, you can't even hear him by the end of the day because he doesn't have a voice left, but he's involved in every aspect of it, and I think he's done a nice job before we start trying to look at how we're going to utilize all the weapons we have. And that will really start to come in on the 24th after we get done with the scrimmage on the 23rd.
And then what are your thoughts on the secondary so far?
They've really come along. A lot of talent back there, inexperienced and young, but they're really coming along. I like what I'm seeing out of Levander Liggins. Colby Brown's starting to come on. Darius Barnes is really doing a nice job. He's doing some things well. It's nice to see McDonald and Pinson, the 2 junior college safeties that are back there because they help bring depth. Connor Nichols had a really good day yesterday. Kentrell Bryce, Lloyd Grogan, I mean, all those guys are really starting to come, and I think the cream is starting to rise to the top. They're really starting to differentiate themselves from some of the guys below them. And so we just got to, same thing, we're kind of spending a couple days putting this thing together, and then we're really going to put the team together and start getting ready for NC State once we know the depth charts are complete on the 17th.
You're basically a weekend. What's your biggest question mark right now, headed into the next few weeks?
Staying healthy. I mean, you watch Eddie Johnson go down the other day, and you hate it because it's going to stun his growth a little bit as a football player, missing all these reps. We're certainly hoping that he will be back in time for the season opener at NC State. But I hate injuries because it takes guys off the field that we need this work right now. And then, my biggest I'm not going to call it a concern because, as I said, spectators worry, spectators concerned. participants roll their sleeves up and compete. You know, you're in it. You can't go, "Oh, I'm worried about that or that." It's what do we have to do? I mean, we've got to get our offensive line developed. We've got to start to develop that continuity. We need some receivers to keep coming. I'd really love to get the answer on some of these waivers, so we're not practicing with some clouds around some of the players on whether or not they're going to be here. And I think we've just got to continue to develop that leadership right now.